Hey, so I think that I haven't shared my point of view regarding the war in Ukraine yet, and I'm not going to do it. However, I put together a number of statements regarding the situation in Ukraine that I think helps summarizing at least what is the point of view of certain people. So before I start with these points, I want to make clear that the relationship between countries is complex and is not the same as the relationship between an individual and his or her partner. So a country has the right to do something and to make certain decisions is true, but they must face the consequences of making such decisions. It's important to understand that if a country is located near a superpower, that superpower is stronger than that country. Therefore, if you make decisions that do not align with the security interests of that superpower, most probably that country will be in trouble. If you seek support from another superpower which is far away from them, well, more trouble they will bring to that hemisphere or to that region. So I just wanted to clarify that. International relations work this way. So let's start summarizing this. So the US Democrats have a serious agreement with the defense industry, just like the Republicans. Okay, this is a bipartisan agreement. Many EU leaders did a study in elite schools that were influenced by the US, and some of them they work for US corporations, and they prepare them for the current role. Okay, those who reach their position by other means, they have to adapt and accept the policy of the political parties. So US Democrats required another war by putting countries in debt, as this is a good way of securing income to the defense industry by selling weapons to a number of countries. US Democrats supported the coup d'etat, which was presented as a popular revolution back in 2014. However, there are reports confirming that the role of the US in the shaping of the Ukrainian anti-Russian political shift was key and instrumental. So US Democrats, they managed to remove President Yanukovych by force, and they replaced him with politicians that were more aligned with the West. This violates international law at all levels. However, presenting it as a popular revolution avoids complaints from a population that grew up with Star Wars, Marvel, and DC. So American soft power plays an immense role in influencing people within a country. So Star Wars, Marvel, and DC, this is my generation. And those who grew up with these comics and they look at the conflict of Ukraine, I think they will understand what I mean. So EU countries cannot be stronger than the USA economically. Therefore, extra expenditure on unwanted wars was a strategy from the US to deplete the EU countries' weapon reserves and destroy their economies and always keep them under economic control. US as the hegemon requires control over the world resources. Russia has resources that US could not control. So putting in danger Russia's external security will trigger a reaction, and the US knew this. So extending NATO to the east was a threat to Russia, and it was a red line that the US decided to cross. Once Ukraine was under political control of US, they started burning bridges with Russia and with ethnic Russians living in Ukraine. This led to a civil war against the eastern regions, which were not happy with the coup d'etat. And then the eastern regions called Russia for help, but Russia provided little help until 2022. So from 2014 to 2022, Russia did not provide much help to these republics. Then the Anglo-Saxons, they wanted to push Russia out of the Black Sea. So Crimea was the main objective. However, the new pro-Western government got a slap in the face, and they were forced to let Crimea go and sign a peace agreement with Russia. So if you take Russia out of Crimea and you remove them from Sevastopol, which is a massive naval base, well, they still have access to the Black Sea though, because they still have the mainland still have contact with the Black Sea, but it'll be more difficult for them to get out to the Mediterranean because Turkey controls that entrance. So Biden got elected and he restarted the Ukraine project. There were NATO instructors training Ukrainians from 2014 to 2022, and they trained them and they taught them how to attack Russia and provoke Russia to react. So they did this by starting small attacks in the border checkpoints, and then they were preparing to take back Crimea. This triggered Russia's invasions. So EU and US imposed sanctions that did not work. They knew that they wouldn't work, but the objective was to weaken Europe economically, put Ukraine into a black hole debt loop, cut economic relations between European countries and Russia, and isolate Russia as much as possible. So they put sanctions that they knew it will inflict self-harm on them, on the European economies. But anyways, they did it because the Americans ordered it to do it. And why do we know this? Because as soon as they impose sanctions on Russian individuals, on Russian businessmen and political leaders, and also in the Russian economy, what they did was turn to the US to give them gas 30% more expensive and other things. So the sanctions didn't work. They didn't work because the plan wasn't a proper plan. Also, the war in Ukraine, it didn't work because they did not plan it properly. So Western countries pushed Ukraine against the Russian bear without a proper war plan. So the West continues to provide weapons to Ukraine as long as Ukraine continues weakening Russia. That's their objective, to the last Ukrainian. So, however, this support could end if they don't launch a counteroffensive. So Western powers warn Ukraine that no counter-offensive will mean a political agreement between Ukraine and Russia, which will trigger the attack on Zelensky by Ukrainian nationalists. So I hope this helped you to understand a bit more about the situation. As I say, this is a summary of different statements that I managed to take from different comments that we gain on Intel's Solid profile. So I think this was a good structure for those people that don't know what happened in Ukraine. If you got a different point of view or different version, please feel free to share it or comment below.